Good morning. I wanted to share some news about the Department of Children and Family Services in Glendora. Again, they are being unreasonable and they're the ones trying to make me look like a neglectful parent. Um, the social worker I have now speaks to me in a condescending way, like I'm a 16-year-old mother who has never parented. So I have huge issues with Clarissa Sanchez from DCFS because when she calls me, she talks to me like this. Hi, Esmeralda. I just want to remind you that you can't be inappropriate with your children during your visit. I'm not being inappropriate with my kids. My kids and I are playing. My kids and I are eating. My kids and I are talking about school. Yesterday, we went to Rolling Heights Library, where we are members. You know, I am a patron at Rolling Heights Library since we started homeschooling. I have records of at least checking out 100 books this year for my children for homeschooling purposes. And we were there yesterday, and I was helping my children with their homework. I helped Evangeline with multiplication and fractions. She's doing like improper and subtracting and adding mixed fractions, you know, like 3 and 1/4, etc., etc. Um, she was doing place value, so I helped her with place value. And knowing how many times, you know, a certain place value is more than another. I helped Belina with, they helped them both with their English assignments. With Evangeline had compound words. You know, a compound word is when you take two separate words and put it together to make a new word, like cup and cake, put it together, cupcake makes a new word. So she had things like textbook and sandbox and whatever. Then Belina had to read and write 3 sentences about it. So I taught my daughter how to paraphrase so she doesn't plagiarize, which means not taking credit for somebody else's work, right? As somebody in higher education, that's important for me to teach my children early on. I also helped Belina with her math homework. So she's doing writing addition equations in expanded and standard form. So, you know, I helped her with that. I helped her with her spelling homework and putting things in alphabetical order. Anywho, which she already knows because I taught her how to do ABC order and I just reminded her how to do it and then she did it. So, because we've done ABC order frequently with homeschooling, actually, it's part of her spelling book too that I had here at home. So I'm just really upset that this social worker, so first of all, my ex-husband isn't allowed at the visits. He's not allowed to transport them to the visits. It's supposed to be paternal grandmother. So somehow we were at Sky Zone. So here's the thing. We had community outings with my brother, Jose, they call him Pepito, as my monitor. And then um, he allowed me to take my children to the restroom because they're females. Like, he felt uncomfortable taking them to the bathroom if they needed help with wipies or something. I don't really wipe them or anything. I would just make sure that they were safe. So, if I walk like 2 feet away from him, I'm not even allowed to be 2 feet away from them playing. He has to follow us around like a puppy dog the whole time because they think I'm talking to them about the case. I'm not allowed to talk to my own children and be honest with them because they're lying. They're purposely lying to my children. They're purposely telling them that I don't want them, which isn't true. Um, I have to counter that every time I see my kids. I have to tell my kids, I love you, I want you to live with me. Mommy's doing everything to get you back in my care. And they're over here acting like I'm this horrible criminal. Well, the good thing is I already talked to somebody from, LA County dependency lawyers for children, and they told me they shouldn't have taken them from you. Based on all the information, they said they weren't supposed to remove them from you. That's not a reason. So that's the good thing is that I have the support from the dependency lawyers that this is sounding like, and I'm not going to be, how do you put it? Don't excuse my French here, that it's bullshit. So I asked the social worker, do you even have the qualifications to be a social worker? Do you have a master's degree? And she's like, I don't have to answer that. This girl's like in her 20s. She keeps trying to tell me how to be a parent. And it's pissing me off because I'm 41 years old, never have been neglectful. I've always done everything for my children, and I'm not inappropriate around my kids. Other people have been inappropriate around my kids, and I've had to counter that my entire life. And the fact that this social worker is aligning with my ex-husband makes me think that there's some sort of romantic relationship at DCFS with my ex-husband. Like, are you dating someone at DCFS? Is that why they're so pro my ex-husband when he's never been a parent to them? I mean, what's going on here? Because something is beyond fishy. There is some sort of line that is being crossed, and there is definitely a conflict of interest on what DCFS is doing to me, and it is very apparent with the lawyers already. The good thing is I have a meeting with my lawyer today, and guess what? I still have another court date in Florida. Why? I have no idea. But via Zoom. So they completely ruined our plans for the week. I already bought my children a Sky Zone membership. We've been going to the Covina location. Um, I already paid for the month. So now I'm going to have to discontinue my membership for next month because I can't have visits in the community with my children anymore. I have to go to DCFS Glendora and be monitored like I'm a criminal, and I don't know how to parent my kids or keep them safe. I'm the only one that's ever kept my kids safe. I never leave them alone. So they're saying that my brother is maybe not an appropriate monitor anymore because he let me be alone with them, which I wasn't really alone with him. What happened at Sky Zone is we're not allowed to have outside food. My daughter was really hungry. She wanted to eat the California rolls. My daughter and I just stepped outside to sit on the bench so that she could eat because she really was hungry. My other daughter didn't want to come outside, and so, he was trying to ask her to come outside. My other daughter was hungry. I did the responsible thing by feeding my child. So it's as if I'm getting penalized for being a good mother. That's what's happening here. I'm getting penalized for being a good mother. Do you need wipies? Let me make sure that you're safe in the restroom. Let me make sure that there aren't any pervs in the bathroom. Okay, I brought you food. Let me make sure you eat because you're hungry. So these are all positive things that I'm doing with my kids, right? Making sure that they go to the restroom, making sure that they have their wipies if they needed, making sure that they're fed. I'm not doing anything inappropriate at all. It's other people who have been inappropriate with my children, not me. And so this girl who's not even qualified to be a social worker talks to me in the worst patronizing, condescending way, and it pisses me off every single time. So I'm going to call to have a change of social worker now. I mean, I've already talked to the dependency lawyers and they see that this is clear bullshit already. Thank God for that. But I have a meeting with my lawyer today. And I told her that I have a meeting with my lawyer today. So I already told her off. I mean, I've told her off more than once. So now I have to have visits at the DCFS Glendora office so that they can assess if my brother's an appropriate monitor for me because he shouldn't let me basically be a mom. I'm not allowed to be a parent right now to my own children. And there is something so fishy about this whole case that I'm getting to the bottom of it. I told her, you guys are being so fishy and so shady with what you're doing that I'm going to make sure I get to the bottom of this and you guys are going to get fired. And I think it's because I have more qualifications than any of you at that office. This is where the problem lies. I said, do you even have a master's degree? Are you even qualified to do this job? And she's like, I don't have to answer that. The question, because the answer is no, she doesn't. DCFS Glendora does not have qualified individuals with master's degrees who are even doing this job. I have more qualifications than this social worker, and she's like in her 20s, and I'm 41, and I've never been inappropriate with my children, and all these allegations are false, and I've already proved it. So when they're like, you shouldn't be argumentative, oh, I'm going to argue with somebody who is acting like I don't know how to be a parent when all of your allegations are false, and I've parented my entire life by myself. So now They're totally ruining our week because I was going to take them to eat at Benihana's. And I already told them, we're going to Benihana's on Thursday for our dinner. And then we're going back to Sky Zone on Saturday, already paid for. And now we can't use that because they're saying that my brother is no longer an appropriate monitor because he let me be 2 feet away. Because my brother knows that this is bullshit. My brother knows that I've never been a bad mother, inappropriate, and my kids have always been safe in my care. So let's see how this Florida court date goes because they're probably actually, they're not fabricating things against me in Florida because they already know what's going on. And then I have a meeting with my lawyer today too. So let's see how that goes. But so far, somebody from the dependency lawyers called and said they didn't have a reason to take your kids from you. They weren't supposed to. Validation at its finest. So the dependency lawyers already have all my information and actually told me, do not give them any more information. Don't give them anything anymore. Don't send them anything unless you run it by the lawyers because they are twisting everything around. And I think they are giving stuff I'm doing to someone else so somebody else can get their kids, like I said. I also want to mention I'm not related to Lourdes Marie Hernandez. People keep saying she's my sister. No. We went to high school together. She's Cuban. I'm Mexican. Don't confuse the two. Lourdes Marie Hernandez is somebody I went to high school with. We have the same last name. We were always in the same homeroom. We always had the same locker area because of our alphabetical names. That's how we became friends in high school. But I stopped being friends with her when I was 19 years old in college because she chose a different lifestyle and I chose education. So she is not my sister. She's not related to me. I just don't want to be associated with anybody who I don't really know and haven't seen in 20 years because I do not know if I'm being penalized for someone else who they think is related to me. Get it? I'm not related to anybody named Leslie either. So no Leslie in my family. I don't have a friend named Leslie. Lourdes Marie Hernandez was my friend in high school. I stopped being friends with her when I went to college when I was about 19 years old. Like I said, we chose different lives. I chose education. I don't know what she did with her life after that, to be honest. I stopped being friends with her 20 years ago. I'm saying this because people are bringing these people up, right? So who I'm related to. My older brother's named Jose Guadalupe Hernandez Jr. My younger brother's name, Emmanuel Erasmo Hernandez. My sister's name is Bernadette Hernandez. She has a boyfriend named Aurelio, who we call Leo. My mother's name, Teresa Hernandez, and my father's name, Jose Guadalupe Hernandez. I don't know who you think I'm related to, but don't confuse me, is what I'm saying. Do not confuse me. So I told her we were not inappropriate at the library yesterday for me to lose my community visits and have to be monitored at the office. We sat at the children's table and did homework, and we were just asked to move over to the bigger tables because the little tables were for younger children. So we did. We just went to the children's section. There was one table, we sat there because we figured we were going to be doing homework. We might be too loud, as far as speaking, because they want you to be quiet in the library. But she said, no, it's fine. You can, do the homework over here. So we just moved to the bigger tables. That was fine. She even offered me a study room. She's like, do you want a study room so that you can have more, quiet time and privacy? Because when you do homework and stuff like that, we have study rooms. And I said, sure. So I even booked a study room at Rolling Heights Library from 2 to 4 next Tuesday. And now I'm going to have to go and cancel that and tell them they're taking my visits in the community away because this social worker is trying so hard to make me look neglectful to cover their own behinds because they royally messed up at DCFS. If the dependency lawyers are already saying this is balderdash, they didn't have a reason to remove him from her care, they're going to try to cover their behinds. And so they're trying any little thing to ding me, any little thing to say she is a neglectful parent when I'm not a neglectful parent. So I told her, I'm going to talk to your ARA, right? The regional administrator, because she's already called me. I'm going to have a conversation with her about what's going on. So you guys are putting my children, and she's like, you can't talk to them at all about anything. Excuse me? That's what Clarissa Sanchez told me. I can't talk to my kids about anything. I can't tell them. So I told them, okay, I'm going to let them know that I couldn't take them to Benihana's and Sky Zone this week because you said that we couldn't go because we have to have visits at the office. You can't tell them that. I am going to tell them that. I am going to tell them that because that's exactly what's happening. We had these fun things planned for the week. You're messing it up, not me. Because now you're trying to say my brother's an inappropriate monitor. I'm starting to think that Clarissa Sanchez is dating my ex-husband or that Tofa Womo is or somebody at that office because they are being very, very weird with me. Very condescending, very patronizing, as if I don't know how to parent my children when I'm the only one that's done anything for them. And I already went to talk to their school because they're violating my educational rights because it says I still have educational rights. So, anywho, I'm just letting you know. I'm actively pursuing my case against the Department of Children Family Services in Glendora. They are notorious for removing children from people's care without having any real basis for it. I think it's for money. I think it's custody related. Somebody on the inside at Glendora is trying to help my ex-husband, and that's just hurting my children. They're not keeping them safe. I don't understand how they're not safe with me if I'm not being, accused of neglect. I'm not being accused of like hurting my children. This is a general neglect based off of the fact that they thought I was psychotic when I'm not, and I've already given all of the information to show that I'm not. All the paperwork. So I think they're switching things around at DCFS on me, honestly, to save somebody else's behind. And I'm going to talk to my lawyer about that, about how she speaks to me. Anyways, I think it's very sad. I have to go back to having visits at DCFS, and now I cannot take them to Benihana's on Thursday. I cannot take them to Sky Zone on Saturday, which was already planned. And they're trying to say that my brother is an inappropriate monitor now. So this is the level of bullshit that I have to deal with the Department of Children's Services. And mind you, I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. I was a therapist for LA County for many years. I have more qualifications than they do. I have two previous supervisors who worked with me in LA County who already said Glendora is notorious for being the worst, and we used to argue with them all the time, to advocate for our clients. And so now I know. I do believe that God works in mysterious ways, and maybe He's using me as a vessel. We call that, in biblical terms, when God uses somebody for a greater purpose. Maybe He's using me to expose Glendora DCFS. That's what I'm starting to think, and that's what I'm praying about, because I can see through the bullshit because I worked for LA County, contracted DMH agencies for 8 years, actually 6 years as a therapist, 2 as a mental health rehab specialist for psychiatrists. I used to translate before I became a therapist. While I was getting my master's degree, I used to translate for therapists who were English speaking and had Spanish speaking cases, who had to speak to the parents who were monolingual Spanish speaking. So I was so used to working with the Latino community, children of immigrants where the parents didn't speak English. So I would work with the children in English, and then I would speak to the parents in Spanish. And sometimes I would conduct collaterals or family therapy in both languages. So that the children and the parents could be on the same page. Because sometimes when you have the children being raised here and then an immigrant parent, there's just a lot of cultural differences. And I would have to, explain that to the children, then explain that to the parent about, when you have immigrants coming here, they still hold their traditional values from their country, and it might be more difficult to assimilate or acculturate, which isn't always seen as a great thing. Um, but then you have children who are being raised here, as in the United States of America, in these more liberal type of views, and so it's sometimes that can cause a lot of disruption in the family unit. But anywho, I have so much experience in this field, and I used to work closely with DCFS because I was the therapist on the case for clients who are being removed from the home, and reunified, or et cetera, et cetera. And some very, very sad cases. I mean, I had a case of a little boy whose parent died, and then they took him from the mother and they sent him to Mexico to live with paternal grandmother. Yeah. So I'm going to make sure that my kids don't end up in another country at the rate that we're going at now. But I still think that everything happens for a reason, and God's using me to expose all the bad social workers at Glendora DCFS who, one, aren't doing their job, who are two, are removing kids either for their own gain, monetary gain, um, and three, who are, I believe, at the moment, it just seems too much like there's somebody in the inside who is friends with my ex-husband, because he's not supposed to be at the visits, and he's the one who reported me, saying that my ex-husband is the one that reported me, saying that I'm being alone with my kids and I'm not supposed to. Well, he's not supposed to be at the visits. How would he know? Why is he watching me? But they're not addressing that issue, are they? No. Instead, they're just listening to paternal side, and they're not listening to me at all. I was told that my ex-husband cannot be at the visits and that he can't transport them there either. It has to be his mother. And the past two visits, Thomas has been the one to take them to the visits. Why were you watching me to the point where you're reporting that, oh, I was alone with my children, even though it was just to step outside for a second so she could eat what I brought her, because Sky Zone didn't allow outside food. I had bought them food there last time, but she specifically wanted California rolls, which I took for her. And if you don't know that, my daughter has, certain food allergies. So I know what she eats and I know what she doesn't eat. And I know that when she doesn't eat, she can get very thin. But I don't want her being sick. So I make sure to bring her foods that I know she can eat and I know she's going to eat. And she just really wanted to eat that. So, how am I being a neglectful parent? By making sure I'm catering to my children's food allergies, by making sure that I'm bringing them appropriate foods and snacks. And we were very appropriate at the library. We were never inappropriate. I just told my brother yesterday I'm not allowed to take him to the bathroom. So you need to get up and go to the bathroom with them and stand outside and make sure that there isn't anything inappropriate happening, which is why I would always just take my daughters to the bathroom. I never left them alone. So this is like bullshit 101. I am exposing people at DCFS. I hope a lot of people get fired, but even more so, I hope DCFS Glendora gets shut down and audited. Because if I got a call from the dependency lawyer's office saying they didn't have a reason to take them from you, you've already given enough information, just let us do our job on this end, they're going to get dinged, and I hope they get fired for it. Pass this on, because I know I'm not the only family that is being wrongfully accused of being neglectful. And what I'm seeing is that they're trying to make me look neglectful by not allowing me to be a parent. See, she's not a parent. She can't help them with their homework. Yeah, I can actually. You just didn't allow me until yesterday. And now that I did a good job with my kids helping with the homework, I'm getting penalized for it. Oh, she can't do this. Oh, I'm getting penalized for feeding my child. Think about it.